Hola fam, how are you today? I am currently, well, actually, I have been currently pacing up and down this block, just spending time with my thoughts and receiving this beautiful sun. And I was taken to a memory of when my sister and I had our shop, Botanical, our crystal metaphysical shop. And we used to have so many amazing conversations with our community all the time. And I thought about a conversation that I had with one of our friends. Shout out to James. And we were just specifically talking about how, oftentimes, and I love the way he said it, the words specifically that he used. He was like, oftentimes, we live in a society now that people have become so focused on just inputting. There's so much input into ourselves, into our bodies, mind, body, soul, and not enough output. Meaning we consume a lot in so many ways, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whether it's great things that you're consuming, a lot of consumption in, but then what are you doing with all of that? Even if it's just amazing things that you're learning and thinking about and taking in, but then what do you do with it? What are you producing? What are you creating? What happens after you've taken in information, experiences, techniques, foods, like whatever you just continue to just take? Then what happens after that within your being? Are you, first and foremost, after that, are you taking the time to integrate properly anything that you're learning, especially if they're positive, especially if you feel aligned with what you're learning and excited about it? Are you taking the time to genuinely integrate, to genuinely understand, to sit with it, to allow it to really grow? And then what are you doing with it? If you've learned, for example, some new information, what are you and how are you applying it to your life? Or how are you then taking those beautiful messaging or lessons and then finding a way to create an output? For example, writing, expression, teaching, etc., etc. And I just thought it was such a wonderful, and especially in today's world where we have so much access at our fingertips, probably more than at any other time in history, that we take that for granted, and some of us don't know anything different. We've been blessed to always have access to things, but then we don't realize sometimes how lost we get in it, or how we're taking all of this beautiful access for granted. Too many folks are a little bit too dormant or stagnant, and do not realize that they are still sort of stuck in the consumption aspect, and then it just stops there. And when we stop there, we're also not really growing. We're not really expanding. And mi gente, that also goes for people that are, sitting with amazing teachers and learning amazing techniques or studies, for example. What good is it for you to sit down with the world's best teachers in the world to learn the best perspectives if you're not taking the time to integrate it properly within yourself, to truly understand what these things mean, which, by the way, can take sometimes a whole lifetime to fully, because information there's always going to be different forms of understanding at different forms of your path, according to your level of awareness. So you can learn something and understand it in one way here, and then 5 years later it takes a whole other meaning for you. You can understand things in a deeper way, for example. But nevertheless, it's important to prioritize integration, proper integration, where you're really present with whatever it is that you've taken in, right? But then after that, what are you doing with it? If, for example, going back to you're sitting down with amazing teachers and you're learning all these amazing things, what are you doing with those amazing things that you've learned. And so I bring that up because I ask myself whenever I make these little Alex chats and I'm asking the community questions, or I'm sharing a perspective, or even teaching you a different way of looking at something. It's also reminding myself, it's also asking myself, what am I doing with the things that I have learned? And can I do better? And what ways do I feel aligned with it? And if I want to create some sort of output, as our friend James would say, how would I want to express that? Mi gente, we're all blessed with so many beautiful things that we can share, and so many beautiful things to experience in this life. And this is just a sister reminder to you all that life is so precious. And, we're waiting on you. If you needed that little push, that little reminder, that little sign, we're waiting on you to come out of your shell and share with us, express. But first and foremost, starting, you do it for yourself. You got to always do things because you feel genuinely excited and aligned by it for yourself. And show and teach the world what you have learned, because only you will express it in the way that you are supposed to. And trust me, mi gente, if there's one thing that I have learned, working with so many people for almost a dozen years from within the spiritual metaphysical world, is that, let me tell you, you can have 50 people teaching the exact same content, topics, and everyone will just express it differently, will energetically, it will have a different feeling. We could all be literally using the same words, but it will always feel different. And so my advice to people when they would come to the shop is, I would always say to them, when you are looking for a teacher, when you want to sit and work with someone to help support your process, look for someone who speaks your language, quote unquote. So yeah, mi gente, we need you. We need your language, because somebody is waiting to hear or see or learn from someone that, or just simply be inspired by you, that only you will express in the way that you can, So anyway, I hope everyone's off to a wonderful 2025. Let's focus on creating a beautiful harmony between our input and our output, because that having a beautiful harmony means that we're healthier, that we're in better flow with our mind, body, soul. But it also means that we're finding ways to be of service to our community, mi gente, because one of the most important things that we can and should be doing in this life, and especially during the days that we're living with such instability and chaos, is we need community to start being active with one another, to start building stronger relationships with one another and healing. Communities need to start healing in all the ways that they need it. And that it's not going to happen unless we all are, doing our part. Anyway, on to the next one. Ciao.